I'm big on working out in the morning, meditating, taking care of myself first. And then that makes me less stressed because there's always going to be stress. It's also the part of the entrepreneurship. Like it's not for everybody too. And some people might find out that they should just be a planner and they're going to be great at it. And some people should find out that they might want to just do own the business or be, COO and not deal with clients or be a CEO. And right now I get the best of both worlds. And I see myself going more the CEO route because I love business. I love this business, is what I found out.
Hello, and welcome back to The Blueprint, an FPA NexGen podcast. Today, we're joined by Chris Wise, the founder of Wise Capital Partners. He shares his journey into the financial planning profession, how he fills his mentorship roundtable full of wonderful nights, how he makes meaningful change within his firm and implements it, as well as what strengths he has and advocating for them, as well as delegating some of those weaknesses. Let's go ahead and wise up.
All right, today we have Chris Wise. And if you've ever heard Chris Wise, you've heard of the Wise Up, scream, shout, whatever you like to say. It's on his board right now. So, Chris, why don't you just go ahead and give us the origin story of Wise Up?
The origin story of Wise Up, well, the real story, how it actually really started was I was actually a trainer in the gym when I was 19 years old. And everything I've ever named, any company, like even when I was 8, I named my first company Wise House and Pet Service. So the Wise brand has always been there. And when I was training somebody, this guy had a t-shirt. It said Wise Up on it. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, can I take that? He's like, bro, I don't even know how I got this shirt, but it's all you. And so I've been waiting to use the Wise Up term once I became professional. And whenever we renamed the business Wise Capital Partners, that's when I let it loose. But it's been in my pocket probably almost 10 years before I actually used it. So I never said it, kept it quiet. And then the moment that Wise Capital Partners came around and I started doing social media, I was like, I need to have a tagline at the end. And so I pulled out the Wise Up.
Do your clients know that phrase?
Yeah, they do, and I'll have it on emails instead of saying like thank you, I'll put wise up. Especially if I'm like real close with the client. If they're like older boomer, then like I'm still like pretty professional. But if it's like millennial Gen X and they follow us on social media and like I kind of know which clients do, I'm like wise up at the end. And I even get it all the time. Even when like I'm out and about in Houston, like I'll go to like the Astros game and someone's like wise up, baby, and I'm like it almost feels like what's up in a way. So I always just yell it back, but it really sticks with people, the whole Wise brand. But I do use it, but not necessarily with like the older ones because it's just like, all right, you gotta know your audience. But overall, even like the staff says it, it's not just about me, it's like the company. And my favorite, by the way, is when someone wises up me when they're giving me advice and they're like, Chris, you need to wise up. And I just die because I'm like, all right, all right.
So, on that note, I want to know, what does it mean truly in your soul to wise up? Whenever you're saying it, what are you really trying to tell people?
I guess it depends on the context, right? Whenever you do say it, it can fit. Like when someone's making, we'll use our business like they know that they should do something. Like, hey, like you should pay down. It's simple, pay down your credit card. Like, it's like, bro, wise up. Or it's like if someone says something funny, kind of like being like a wise ass. I'm trying not to curse on this podcast, but like even being like smart aleck about things, like dude, you should wise up, man. Like it can be used in so many different ways, but really, Ali, it's really about like, hey, like like wise up, man. So that's usually where I use it, and I try not to use it too much because I don't want to lose its flavor whenever I say it. So when it comes out, you got to make sure it's the right time, but it really does get people's attention. Like, okay. And I also, you have to be careful since we're on this subject on LinkedIn. If you don't know me and I tell people to wise up, they will literally go off. Like they take offense to it. And so that's how I know they don't know me. Cause I'm like, it's not actually offensive. I'm just like ending the conversation. It's almost like that too. It's like you end it, wise up, done. And then I've had a guy, he just like literally went off about life and all this. I was like, all right, didn't even respond. We're going too far with this.
That's how I use Wise Up. So I use it not with clients, but with all my wonderful next gen community. We all know Wise Up. And so it's great to hear from the horse's mouth exactly what Wise Up means. What is your background? Explain how you got into
Yeah.
financial planning and how you're in the position that you are now.
I got to give you like the backstory. So whenever I started the Wise House and Pet Service, my first little business, I was during the Home Alone era. I know I'm a little older than you guys, but I'm sure you guys know Home Alone. Turn on the lights was like a big deal in the neighborhood, and feeding the animals. And they didn't want the whole timer thing. Remember, that's why they were robbing people, was because they had it on timer. I was never on time necessarily. I was either really early or really late, depending on like my schedule. So it made people think that they were at home. But so people were paying me for that. They paid me 50 bucks. And that's when my dad was like, "Hey, son, if you give me 50 bucks, I'll put it in the market and I'll match you." And then that's when it all started about investing. And then after that, I actually kind of became my dad's wholesaler. So one of our niches is professors. So the 403B space. We don't do K through 12, but like obviously teachers have 403Bs. And so I had this like little pamphlet. So I was like his little wholesaler. And I would go up to the teachers the first day of class and say, "My dad can help you retire." And I would show them on this little thing. You would just move this little wheel and it would show how things would compound. So that was like my real big start into the business. I actually didn't want to be a financial planner, but that was more because of my ego, to be honest with you, because I wanted to be different than my father. And I was like, "Nah, I don't want to be a financial planner like you, Dad. I'm gonna run gyms because I love the gym, love helping people. Health and wealth, very similar. My first clients were like 65 years old. So like those were boomers and helping them accomplish their goals. Did the finance degree. Then I ended up working for my dad for the first couple of years and being like, wow, this is actually really boring. And I just was not, I was just like not into it. There's a certain maturity level in this business, right? What we're doing. And that's when my mom was very successful in sales in multiple industries, broke the glass ceiling. So got to give her a lot of credit. Most of the time we talk about Bruce because he's in the industry, but my mom also helped build the firm too in her fourth career, essentially. And she's like, "You should go wholesale." So I started wholesaling, worked for Jackson. Then I worked for North Star Securities, which is under Colony Capital, as their distribution, selling REITs. The non-traded REITs, holy crap. We don't need to get into that, but that was that taught me a lot, let's just say. Private investments, and we took a fund public. It went on the exchange. It failed tremendously, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, like this sucks." And I was working on my CFP at the time, and that's the moment I was like, "You know what? I'm on the wrong side of the table. I need to be an advisor." And I had a great mentor. He was the president of North Star Securities, Tim Tool, awesome guy. By the way, not a tool, awesome dude. And he was like, "Chris, you need to go back. You care way too much about the client. And in this business, not to say you're not supposed to care, but you care for these people. You need to be an advisor. You need to go back, work with your dad. This is a golden opportunity. And if you don't like it, just sell the firm later." And it really took like the CFP program and then getting experience on my own away from my father, leaving the nest egg is what we like to say, right? And going out there and being like, "Wow, like now I see what you do, Dad. Like you're helping people. It's more than just investments and taxes. Like you're really making an impact on people's lives." And I think it took like the maturity, also watching like all these people get fired, except for four of us out of like 90 employees at the place, and then just watching how that side of the business, like funds, I actually just got an email about an old fund that we used specifically at the University of Houston. We would use this fund because it's just different in every campus and all that. But they just said, "Yeah, this fund, we're closing it." It's just like it brought back memories. It just happened this morning. I was like, wow, like this is why I'm on this side of the table. But also, it's just, I think it goes back to the impact. And like that's how I got back, into the business. My dad really wanted me to. Like I said, I just pushed back. And then I was like, "You know what? You need to drop that ego. Like, this is a great opportunity." And then once I started getting deeper into this and the relationships, I was like, wow, like I'm so glad that I'm an advisor and I'm doing this. And to be honest, like I still, wake up to this day being like, wow, I get to do this for a living. And I see my friends that are like, half of them hate their jobs. Like they make good money, but like I've never said like I hate waking up and coming to work and doing this and you can make a lot of money in this business, but you're also like helping people at the same time, which is incredible. And I try to like pro bono certain people too, like that have come to me that I've passed my life, like that have come around my life that I know that they can't afford like what we're trying to do, but it's like, hey, just do these three things and hit me up in like 6 months. You know what I mean? So it's not just about making other people wealthy. We can make such a huge impact on, people that need the help too that necessarily can't afford it.
Yeah, and that impact that you can make in people's lives, that's where the passion really comes from. Yes, you're going to make some pretty good money if you stick with it. Really, any way you do it, you can make some pretty good money. And more importantly, you're going to have a lot of impact in people's lives.
People are going to remember you. It's the emotional stuff, right? Like, wow, like this person. I even had like an old fraternity brother, like that was a pledge brother that I haven't talked to since I was like 20 because he left the school and all this other, a lot of bad stuff happened to his life. And he remembered what I told him about living below his means. And he said this quote, and he said all this stuff. And I was like, whoa, like I was like 20 years old or something, at the time. I was like, I don't remember saying that, but wow. What a wise guy for sure. And he's stuck with it and he's in such a good position now. And he's like, I just wanted you to know. I saw one of your videos and I just wanted to email you and let you know that it's still helping me with my wife and my child from the things that you told me. And I was like, awesome, man. You just don't know those things. I mean, sometimes people just kind of have to tell you that you don't realize what impact you're making. But I think that's like the cool part because like we all can help anybody. Everyone can be helped because everyone needs personal finance. Like, the whole death and taxes, well, so is personal finance too.
For people that haven't picked up on it, you're a second generation financial advisor. Your dad's in the
Right.
business. You were coming up the rear. Like you said, you left the nest for a little bit to get more experience. Walk us through that
Yeah.
point and then going back and working with your dad.
Yeah, I mean, the experience was great on the sales side. It really helped me on presentations, how to actually talk this business. I always tell, like, for example, I have an intern and he's leaving. And I told him, I was like, he's like, well, I want to come work with you. I was like, I'd be doing a disservice to you. I don't have like the training for something like that. What I want you to get, you should go work for like a Schwab, a Fidelity, a bigger RIA, and learn as much as you can. And I think I learned a lot by leaving, and that was huge. And even like just working with other people and having these discussions at a professional level, I think I've always personally understood the business because I was listening to my dad as much as he says I never listened to him. I wouldn't be talking to you guys right now. But like bringing back, I think the biggest thing was honestly the technology because my dad would still have the landlines, right? So like when robocalls were like 70% of the calls coming into the firm and just getting like the VoIP system alone like just literally, we got no more robocalls and it was just client calls. Like little things like that really helped coming in and understanding. And like the portfolio stuff, right? Because we were like with Jackson, we would help build their portfolios inside the annuity. Being like, I got experience doing that. There's so many different things that I've learned from like the corporate side, but I also knew that I just I'm not a corporate guy. I never will be. I like to say that I'm not really hireable because like I'm always thinking outside the box and like it's just like I need that freedom. But bringing that and then also the creativity because my dad didn't have a really his website sucked, didn't even have a name. There was no really big direction. He was gonna sell the firm. That was like the biggest kicker, right? Like he's like, I'm selling. That was probably to go back to that time. Mike was talking about, I'm selling. This is your last chance to come back because it was really hard to leave Colorado. Like, and I live in Houston. All right, we have concrete mountains. We have a bayou with alligators when you're running by, right? Like that couldn't be more opposite than the lifestyle. But I knew that there was a great opportunity, and sometimes you got to make that sacrifice to get what you want in life because I still want a home in Colorado. And this is the fastest way for me to get one was to come home and do this versus staying over there. And when I came back, I think the biggest part that I finally got to be was an entrepreneur again because he gave me full reins on the business. Like, we're going to change this. We're rebranding. This is what we're going to look like. This is what I see in the future. This is what I've talked to because I talked to advisors all day whenever I was in that career. So I got to find out what they hated, what they liked, what they used. And like when you're talking to them all day, you got a good sense of like, okay, where's this business going? What should I use? Even they told me like, dude, you're on the wrong side of this phone. Like you need to be an advisor, man. And those are some great things to help build the firm, but then you're actually in the hot seat, right? That kind of changed everything. I know some of y'all know like the story is like whenever I had to take over after my dad like almost dying with COVID, I thought he was going to be leading the firm and I got to like, really learn at my own pace. And unfortunately, he was in and out for months during COVID, and that's when the torch was truly passed and like I had to take that leadership. I'll never forget. It's like when I actually took my mom to the hospital first and then my dad second the same day, and I was like, holy shit, I'm about to become an orphan. Because I'm an only child. I was like, it's just gonna, I mean, I'm an adult, but like, it's one of those things in your mindset. And I'll never forget the feeling when I put my dad's jacket on him because he was like cold from COVID. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, I gotta not only run the business now, but I also have to run the family. Like, that's when it hit the fan. And it made me very blessed that I left a year before, that I at least got a year to come back, transition, kind of see where we're at and have a foundation. And then after that, that's when it was just like, all right, let's do this and just grab the bull by the horns. That's just the way life goes. But I also think that that's what gave me the opportunity to become a better businessman and financial planner because I had to figure it out myself. And a lot of people thought like, oh, you have a father in the business. He probably does everything. And, the whole nepotism, I was like, dude, he wasn't even around. And when he came back, he wasn't ever the same guy ever again either. So, like, people see on the surface level outside, but they don't really know what's going on. It's kind of like when people always talk about, oh my God, this couple looks so great on Instagram, and then they get divorced, like a month later, things aren't as good as what they seem. But again, that also gave me the opportunity. All these mentors, all these people that I use as outside people that are not employees, if that wouldn't have happened, they probably wouldn't have been around to this day and have helped me grow the firm. So things in life will just have an effect on the direction you go. And I think it just goes back to like, hey, take a deep breath and just go.
You brought up the importance of mentorship and how,
Yep.
because your father got sick, he wasn't exactly the mentor you thought you were going to have as you transitioned back to be a financial advisor. But you do have a large group of mentors that you're relying on as you
Yep.
continue throughout your career. How have you gone through the process of one, choosing who is an appropriate mentor for you and connecting with those mentors?
Well, I think the first one is like you got to find someone that clicks with you at the end of the day. Like, of course, you got to know like their resume, right, Ali? Like what they've done in their business. Like, I'm not going to talk. My mentor's not going to be some college kid, right? It's going to be people that are older that have been in the business. Fortunately for me, growing up in the business, I was an only child, so I went to a lot of events with my dad. I didn't have a sibling to go hang out with, so he actually made me shake hands and kiss babies with all the other advisors. So there was a good handful of them that I already knew that were closer like in their 50s, like Gen X. And like I just wanted a generation above me as a millennial. And so first I knew they've been in the business. All of them have been through '08. That was kind of one of those things where were you in the business in 2008? Because if you weren't, I really don't want you as a mentor. You know what I mean? Because it's like that shit was wild. And I remember it in high school because I was a senior in high school when it was all happening. And I don't, not to say I don't want advice from someone that's younger. You can learn from everybody. You can learn from a 2-year-old, right? Like everyone can teach you something, but especially in this business, like I wanted someone that's been through '08, has their own firm. Usually I would go for someone that is a single practitioner or at least has a team under them. And that's what it's like, okay, I try to find a mentor like the next step to where I want to go. And that's what's really helped. And even outside people, like my business coach. Yes, I pay for him, but he's a mentor, he's a friend. He was an exec for HP and he was very successful and started his own thing and does M&A and all this. That had nothing necessarily to do with our business, but he became even a stronger mentor towards me on the business side because at the end of the day, we're still a business. And I try to tell people, all right, our business is just like any other business. 80% of our businesses are the same. It's the 20% that makes us different. And that's we do financial planning versus like selling widgets. Maybe we don't have cost of goods sold and all this other crap, but like we still are a business. And those people helped me, and even other people that were just personal friends that were adults that were older that helped me too. They that weren't necessarily in the business. So I like to get I like to say like a round table. I'm a big round table guy, so everyone feels equal. And I have that with my best friends too. They know I call them my knights. We all sit around. I'm from Kingwood, so it's like kind of goes with it. They like give me a perspective that's different from like the advisor, right? Some of them might be emotional, some might be physical, some might be like specific to this business. And that's what really helped. I think for me to feel more confident in myself, I've always been overly confident. It is what it is. And like, I'd rather be confident than not. But there's a point where it's just like reality hits. It's just like, oh my gosh, like I need help. And I think if people realize and just ask for help, people are so willing to help you more than you think. Like, I don't think I've ever been denied when I've asked somebody for help. I think they actually feel very honored and they're like, yes, I'll help you. And I try to do that too with people that are younger than me in the business. That's why we all met. The only reason why I went to NextGen is because I was hoping to make an impact on them because I was very fortunate. Because my dad did guide me and was a great mentor, but there was a point where we've talked, you guys know, my dad ended up developing Parkinson's. Well, he's not the same guy he used to be. He still has a few golden nugs. And so I'm just really glad that like I started that after the COVID because these relationships have been around for years now. So like depending on the situation, I can call or email or talk to that right person.
Yeah, I love your point of finding a mentor that's in the next stage or the next evolution of where you want to go because they've done it, they've been through it, and they can advise you in the right ways that you need it.
Exactly. Especially like the wrong things to do. I
Mm.
wouldn't do this. It's all, a lot of the good stuff I feel like we know, like not that we know, but like I think LinkedIn has been such a huge plus if you're involved on LinkedIn and a lot of advisors love giving advice and there's some good stuff that's out there, right? But it's also not a personal connection where like somebody actually cares, just like we care about our clients. And I think that that's what really brings it together when finding a good mentor is like having that personal relationship first and then having that business professional transactional relationship as well because this business is about people and relationships.
So you're in a unique position. You're young, you own a business, you're running a business, you're planning for the future. I imagine you're wearing 1,000 different hats every single day. How are you handling all of that? How are you running a financial planning business in 2026?
Well, I think the biggest thing is learning how to delegate, not only with employees and making them get more responsibility, the outsourcing that I've done right now, definitely need to hire a couple people, but we want to make sure that it's the right person to be hired. I think that's just always about entrepreneurship. And if you're growing, you're going to keep wearing hats until you get to a certain point. It's taking care of your health is the number one thing that comes first. When you said that to me, Mike, is like, you got to take care of yourself first. You and I have talked multiple times for years about this. I'm big on working out in the morning, meditating, taking care of myself first and then that makes me less stressed because there's always going to be stress. It's also the part of the entrepreneurship. Like it's not for everybody too. And some people might find out that they should just be a planner and they're going to be great at it. And some people should find out that they might want to just do own the business or be, COO and not deal with clients or be a CEO. And right now I get the best of both worlds. And, I see myself going more the CEO route because I love business. I love this business is what I found out. Yes, I love financial planning, but if I want to make a bigger impact, if I hire more people, I can make a bigger impact in having more planners and not just me. And I like the creative side. Like just this whole, I just love this business in general. So that's the route I personally want to go to. But I think people need to find that out too, because I think some people think that doing both, like there's a point where you just can't do both. And like I'm at that point in my life. It's hard, wearing multiple hats, but it goes back to like let's just say like social media, like I'm always posting, I'm always doing stuff. Well, I have a social media director. We've been working together for years. And so like he handles all that. Like I was doing that in 2020 and it was a lot. Like it was just like way too much. But I think again, delegating responsibilities and making sure that you're focused on what your strengths are. I'm not a big fan of like when people are like, "Oh, you got to get better at your weaknesses." I was like, "No, you can just hire your weaknesses or outsource them." Like, why focus on it? Just get better at what you're good at.
One of the things that you're good at is being creative and figuring out how to mold the business into something that you're passionate about so you're able to play to your strengths. And one of the things that you are recently developing the business to is focusing more on health and wealth and
Yep.
making sure that your clients can enjoy the money that they have and be healthy enough to live a lifestyle that their money can fund. Can you expand on how you're implementing the
Yeah.
the cross section of health and wealth.
Got to give you guys the motto. The original motto is healthy, wealthy, and wise. So this is like an evolution of it. My dad would actually we would pray before we'd eat, and he would always say, "God, keep us healthy, wealthy, and wise." I'm about to go on a tangent, so bear with me. But I thought my dad made it up, and then I got a Windows 95 whenever I was in third grade, and then I Googled it, and then I found out Ben Franklin made it up, and so I called my dad out about it, and he's like, "How did he know that?" And thank you, Google. But expanding that. Obviously, I went and became a personal trainer. I was certified for 14 years. I only was actively doing it for about seven. At one point, I was actually in this business and training people at night because you don't make a lot in the beginning, right? So, but I could make a good amount just training 2 hours. And I was always like, man, I've always still loved that space. And my dad made a joke. He's like, one day we're gonna have a gym and we're gonna do health and this at the same. I kind of laughed at him but he wasn't off like where he was going with this. And so that's kind of like the foundation of how this whole health thing came about. And then I decided after watching Billions, the show, and I'm not sure if you guys have seen it, I'm sure some of the viewers have seen it. Well, Axel Rod has his own therapist, right? And I was like, I need a therapist for my team because I know how stressful this business is. I know it's a lot of pressure. You're dealing with people's wealth. And so I was with my business coach. I met Dr. K, who we use for our own self. I pay for the staff's therapy. He doesn't like the word therapy, emotional health, same thing. Sounds better. I get it. Tomato, tomato. It is what it is. My thought process was if I can help the people around me and help with their lives, then they're going to perform even better professionally. It's worked tremendously. I think a lot of advisors, when I've shared this with them, they're like, well, what's your ROI? And I was like, you're thinking too much about money the whole time. Look, she's smiling all the time. She's adapting and she wasn't able to adapt, or issues at home where they're now being resolved that had nothing to do with me and their performance has just gone up. And you can see that their stress levels have gone down. So I wanted to test us first. And now we're going to start implementing and beta testing our own clients, especially because our niche is moving towards business owners, which is why I joined an entrepreneur organization. And it's just more creative planning, right? Like it's a little bit more fun, I think personally. That's Dr. K's niche is business owners. There's so much emotion trying to do your business and your personal life. A lot of these owners and their family members need the help. That's why I was like, why can't we do this for clients? But I wanted to show that we did it first. So it wasn't just something that we just implemented on you guys and like we just trying it. Like we've been doing it for it'll be almost 4 years since we started with Dr. K, which by the way, former Wall Street guy, worked for Goldman Sachs, was there in '08. So great mentor as well, Ali, for going back because he was there and he gets this business. And now that's the next level of helping them there. And then I'll work on the physical because I've got mentors that were my mentors when I was a personal trainer. Hey, why don't we work together? Because when health is absent, wealth becomes worthless. And I call it my wiser model. And that's what we're developing right now is well planning, which is what we all do. Integration of health, spiritual alignment, emotional health, and relationships and fun. Because I'm creating something that I wish my father had 20 years ago because he wouldn't be where he is today. He wouldn't be in assisted living. He would have lived a better life, more than likely. The chances are higher. I don't have a crystal ball. Maybe they weren't, but you would say if you're putting in the work, then you're probably going to have a better chance of living a better life. Because, I was hiking a 14er last year. And I saw these like 70-year-olds just destroying it. And I was like, that's true wealth right there. That's what I want our clients to have. Because yes, we did a great job. I'm sure all of us have in the retirement, but then it's like that next stage or even like developing it because you have to put daily contributions into your health. Like and it compounds, right? I look at that as such a crucial thing, even more important than your wealth. Don't you want to live a life where you can actually go and do things? It's sad to see older, especially boomers, because that's our age group that are retiring, right? They can't even go and do anything. Like they can't enjoy themselves, which is why you should live now. But I just see our business moving more and more towards life planning. But all I see is advisors, they're passive about this. A lot of us believe in this, but nobody's doing nothing about it. And that's where I was like, well, let's do something about it. So I think technology is going to help us in our business. And of course, the accountability, that's what they have us for. And and us being almost like therapists to our clients to help them make good decisions. Like we're between them and a click of a button, right? Especially when there's, things going on in the market with all the volatility and all the geopoliticalness and all the noise. That's what we're there for. But if we can help their lives, like that is a bigger impact more than my father ever could. So good luck to any of my kids one day if they try to go against me because I just beat my father. That was like that's our little inside joke between my dad and I. Because I'm like, you did good, but watch this. And I've always had a health background. We talked about it earlier about how I take care of myself. Don't get me wrong, a lot of cheat meals, like to have fun. But overall, like I'm kicking ass for my health because I want to be able to live a good life. I want to be able to hike at 70 like those guys. Like I'd rather be able to hike like that with $1 million than be 10 with $10 million and can't even walk to the parking lot. So like pick your poison. It's not coming with you anyways. And I get the legacy thing understandable, but we're gonna now shift to like how can we help their lives in a proactiveness, spiritually health, and I think the relationships and fun our generation, the millennials, the Gen Z, we already know, but we can still help the Gen X, the boomers. It's not their fault. And a lot of people blame, oh my gosh, boomers do this, boomers do that. They didn't know. All they do is work hard. Even if you don't feel good, work hard. Like, who cares about working out? You need to focus on your family and taking care of them. And that's why you got to give them some grace as well. And I think a lot of our generation doesn't because like, well, look at me. Like, yeah, it's easier to say. It's like almost like, oh, you should have invested in Google in 98 when I told my dad about me Googling, the healthy, wealthy, and wise, right? It's like, yeah, of course, it's easier said than done. But he's like, but I gotta say, he's like, I had NASDAQ ETFs. It was in there, son. You didn't know who the winner was going to be. He's not wrong about that, by the way, because Google was his, like number 13 search engine at the peak of the dot-com bubble. So kudos to him. But overall, it's how can we help them health wise? It would be, I think, fantastic being like, who are you? What's your purpose? Like my dad always used to say to clients, who are you going to be? Like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And you could be 80 and he would still say that to clients. Like, what do you want to be when you grow up? Well, you know what? I want to be able to be a tour guide, in Colorado. Well, kind of have to be in good shape. And you have to have your money because you don't get paid that much. Wise up.
I love the why behind this shift that you're doing. It's what your dad needed when he was going through this business to stay healthy, to, utilize money to enjoy life, essentially. One thing I wanted you to expand on, because you're creating big change within your firm, and I think a lot of our younger listeners, you're going to join a firm and they'll do 80% of the things right, but then the 20% you're missing, that's on you to go make a change in your firm. Talk about all the different things that are going into implementing this new style of financial planning for your firm.
I think the hard part is the older generation where I've mentioned it and they're like, I'm good. There's Jack Daniels. I'll just drink it, which is actually like the most opposite thing when it comes to the health, essentially, like mentally and physically. I won't get into that. That's on them. But I just had a client just pass away. And unfortunately, I mean, they're pretty young. He got stage 4 cancer, and the wife said, this is the hardest thing that's ever happened to me. Like, this is where like that should fit. I think right now, going back to how like it's structured, that's why we're beta testing it with a small pool of clients right now. Because I even did that with the us doing filing for taxes. Is like, let's not screw all these people's taxes up if that happens. Like, let's do 3, learn the system because it's all about the processes. At the end of the day, to make it scalable, how did it move? It started here, it goes here. This is how it all works. You don't need 50 clients to do that. You need 3, maybe 4 or whatever, and then work your way up from there and find out what the mistakes are, which is what we're going to be doing with the emotional side. I want to get that done first, the taxes, because that's new, and then we're going to tackle the emotional side. Luckily for us, we have Dr. K, who's been doing this for years. So it's like, how do we implement this with clients? And the questions are going to have to change. So, like when you're onboarding a client, it's going to be more behavioral finance than other questions, more technical in our business about financial planning. Like, oh, is taxes a big deal to you? It's like, no, it's like, well, where do you see yourself? Like, what do you want to be? Like I said, when you grow up, how much does your health matter to you, your mental health? These are like huge things that clients need help in. And I think right now it's uncharted waters for me, Mike. And I've never been in this. And I like to say, like, I outgrew what my father did. Now I'm in this, which is why I joined the EO Entrepreneur Organization, listening to other business owners. Because even our business has, there are a few people that have kind of tackled this, but that's why I joined that. It's like, well, how do you guys deal with these kind of situations and then build off of that? Because they're not anything different than other business owners in our industry. We just happen to do financial planning. So for right now, it's really about testing a small pool of people and then seeing how it works. Like even the onboarding to like, okay, what if they don't need it? Or what if they do need it? How is this flat fee planning going to work? Which is why I'm glad we started offering flat fee planning. To me, it makes more sense to make it easier. It's like, okay, it's going to cost 2 grand to do the emotional health for a year versus like AUM, which eventually we'll probably focus on the AUM. But I'm trying to make it easier on the numbers because AUM is just all over the place, right? Or you can put them in brackets, but it's like, what's the difference between like a 3 million and 5 million? It's like, let's make sure that, we're getting paid where we should. Right now, Mike, I don't have an answer for you. We're about to find out, and we can do a part two next year, and I'll let you know. But we're just trying to figure out with a small pool of clients, and they're going to be millennials, business owner millennials that are open to it. I think that's the biggest thing is the client open to this. And because it's serious, it's like you're going to have to talk about like how you feel, what's going on. There could be childhood trauma that these people have. Maybe that, and maybe we might find out that's why they don't want to spend the money. Because, my big thing is when they made it, like go spend it, but like they just can't. Maybe they need that person to talk to. And that's out of the scope of our engagement. Guys, we're certified financial planners. We're not therapists. As much as we like to say we are we giving the right advice? Like when stuff happens in my life, I'll go back through the Grand Canyon, cut off all, signal and just push my body to the limit. Well, that's not for everybody, okay? So it's like I can't tell that to a client. Like, hey, just go hike the Grand Canyon, for 3 days and then get lost and then figure it out. Like this is something where we need another professional to help us. And that goes back to outsourcing and delegating, like delegating that personal finance or behavioral finance to someone that actually can give them a plan, just like we have a plan. Like I have a plan when I talk to Dr. K, like this is how, for me, I'll just be open. It's like I had to come to Jesus with myself about my dad not being my father the way he was. And that was a huge thing for me. Like my dad was like a superhero. It was like Superman to me, and everything in life. And then figuring out like that's not the same guy. And we had a plan on how we were going to work on that. Just like how we have a financial plan. That's the route we're going.
Looking through a process, you want to implement something, you start with a small group of people, see what weaknesses are, what strengths are, and adapt from there. Let's apply this back to you. Now, let's say you're back in your first 5 years as a financial planner. What is something that you would stop or start doing that helps accelerate your career?
I would stop trying to know everything and I would try to start knowing everybody you can for specific areas. I learned this lesson because my father was a try to know everything, like everything. And I was just like, that's just not me. Like I just knew that wasn't there's a lot of like you have to have a lot of like understand yourself, self-awareness, right? Of like who you are. And I realized that a lot of times everyone's like, you got to know everything. Like, when you get the CFP, like you think that you're just going to know about estate planning and trust. You know how I found that out is by being in meetings and being with people that know what they're doing around me. Not like you don't become an expert that way. And so I would stop trying to know everything and start meeting people because I'm all about like shaking hands, kissing babies. At the end of the day, you need to learn from other people because the issue that a lot of us have is that when we start off is that we don't have a lot of experience, right? But if you get other experiences from other people in this business, that's what we call wisdom. And I would start finding as much wisdom as you can and stop trying to know everything. Because you might, going back to taxes. Well, what if that's not even something you do and you join an RA firm where there's a specific person? Yes, you should have a good understanding. But I just noticed when people try to know everything, it's just too much now. There is so much change. It's just crazy. And I'm like, all right, that goes back to your anxiety and like, do you feel more pressured? And really honing on like having teammates to help you around, going back to helping. But again, I would start really learning from others and gaining that wisdom. That's what I did. I would just ask, especially when I was a wholesaler, I would just ask them questions. Advisors love giving advice. So it's pretty easy. Just ask.
Yeah, don't be afraid to say, that's a great question. Let me do some research and get back to you.
I learned that too, thanks to corporate. was like, just tell them you don't know and you'll find the answer and you'll get back to them. If you don't know, then tell them like you don't know, you'll get it back. You can say it in a professional way, but how you get burned is like acting like you know. You're like, well, I think like there's a 50% chance like it's this. Like, don't do that.
Yeah.
It's like something's gonna happen. Maybe you are right, but you shouldn't be guessing when it comes to people in this business. That's all I gotta say about that.
People that know you, they know you're a pretty you're somebody that can pump people up. You can get them excited. The first 0 to 5 years of this industry, it's kind of it's grind. What would you say to them to get them pumped up to make it through and see the light at the end of the tunnel after that like 5 year mark?
Yeah, well, I mean, the biggest thing is that you're getting paid to learn. Just don't forget that. I mean, you might not get paid as much as you say you are, but you have to remember, don't we preach a long term? This game is a long term, just like we do our clients. It's the same thing for your career. This first 0 to 5 should not be focused on money, but learning. Learn as much as you can from everybody. My dad even told me that because I was pretty bummed, Mike and Allie, whenever I found out how much I was making, and I was like, this sucks. And he's like, you're getting paid to learn. And you see like friends that are engineers and they're making tons of money right off the bat. But I'll tell them real quick, I'll tell the viewers that are 0 to 5, I'm making a hell of a lot more than they are now. So it's a long-term game. Learn. 0 to 5 is about learning, not making money. All right. And maybe it might take to year 10, but like we always talk about, it compounds. This is a sticky business. There's a reason why people don't leave. It's become super flexible. After COVID, this business has finally lightened up and less suits and ties. Like this is a great time to get in the business. And they should be very fortunate to be getting into this because they won't realize until later is that, man, like all we get to do is just I think is incredible. And as much as people think like AI is going to take over our business, they've been saying shit like that for so long. It's people still need help, and that's okay. DIY, do it yourself. But I'm gonna do it myself, guy, for a lot of things. I could change my oil. I don't do it. I could cut my grass. I don't do it. There's a lot of things that I don't do, and just like they do, and guess what? I think this business will be even more impacted than ever because of all the stress and noise that we all have now, is that we really need someone to help guide us. And I've had younger clients that are millennials being like, I wish I would have done this a few years ago because I really did need the direction. Yes, I'm making good money, putting money in my 401k, but like, wow, like it's just the fact that you hold me accountable. You're putting me in a direction and I get to sleep at night. That's sleep test, right? So that's to me, this is one of the best times to get in this business, especially technology wise. And like, look at all these entrepreneurs that have like, when I saw on LinkedIn in like 2020 and they've blown up and they've gotten to do their own niche. You couldn't do that 10 years ago. So you are lucky to be in the business now.
Love it. Is there anything else you'd love to share with our listeners before we close out?
Remember, when you become a CFP, it's not a certified financial planner, certified persons. We help people. This business is about people. It ain't about financial planning. Wise up.
Awesome. Thanks, Chris. This has been The Blueprint, an FPA NexGen podcast, and we will see you in the next episode.